Stop it.
So I've got this CFMOTO 450NK just sitting here in my garage. I've been lended the bike for some time. I could do the normal testing things, and sure, we'll do some of that stuff. I want to actually look this thing over closely, look at the bike from the position of a mechanic, somebody who's interested in modifying things down the road. And I thought that would be fun to go over my mindset, my random rambling thoughts on this CFMOTO 450NK. I think most people start by looking over a new bike and looking at the body work and the TFT. Everyone loves a good TFT, don't they? But I like to look at just the core of an engine, the motor, the frame, everything's going on right here. And first thing I notice here is we have a steel frame bike with a steel subframe. Most bikes in this price level, you have a full single frame at this point, but they're doing the detachable subframe. Nice to have is if you ever loop the bike out or in some kind of crash where you break the rear subframe. Otherwise, it's not really that big a deal. Also, a steel swing arm. There's part of me that kind of appreciates a steel frame just because, well, it's cheaper down the road if you ever have to repair it. Steel frame bikes are not a big deal. People think, oh, steel means it's going to be a heavier frame, but if you actually look, some of the examples of bikes have actually been steel and went to aluminum. They don't actually, you have to have more material. You don't actually end up saving any weight. Some of the lightest bikes out there are steel frame bikes. For cost effectiveness, steel with a nice powder coat on there. The powder coat does look to be better than the two Japanese bikes I own right now. MT-07 and CRF 300L both have had a very chintzy one. In fact, the 300 I already had to recoat it. Some kind of plug here. Big old plug here. Oh, that's a big old hole there. I guess it probably goes all the way to the other side. Yeah, pretty much. I guess if you were to do some kind of race rail, you could try to go off of that, or that you do have a major engine mount point right there. Things like a race rail or some kind of crash cage on the side here. There's a point here on the engine where there's a big threaded, very thick, I mean, it's like that thick of a threaded hole right here. They've announced a 450 bike using this engine in an adventure frame, which is also really interesting too. That looks to have a full suspension, 2118, tubeless. That actually is going to be a really interesting bike, and I think they're utilizing this. But for someone, like I said, putting some sort of race rail, maybe you could attach to here. There's also some kind of major motor mount point kind of right up behind this piece of plastic, but most people don't want to drill a hole in this. Maybe you could have some kind of tab coming down, point coming off of here, a point here. I feel like you typically want like 3 for something like that. Like a lower little cage on here would look pretty good. Some kind of sensor right here on the engine, oil pressure sensor or something, I'm not sure. It does stick out a little further than I'd like to see. Not a huge deal, but you know, it'd be nice to see that slightly brought in. We also have a cable coming off it right here, which is secured well right here, but could use another tie right there. If I really try, I can get to just sort of make contact with the O2 sensor right there. If nothing else, a small zip tie would help. But overall, this engine doesn't look like any weird departure of anything. Like I said, I was telling people before this, you would just assume it's like a Japanese built. It looks and feels just like something you would see from there. While I'm down here, let's talk about the exhaust system. Yeah, that's actual proper stainless. If you want to potentially upset yourself, go take a magnet to your stainless exhaust and see if it's got, a lot of them will have like a little bit of magnetness. Nice grade of stainless, which also means you can always clean this up really good. A bike at this price range in its class, I would just assume to have some, just black, whatever, like steel pipes on here. The collector and catalytic converter, where it goes from 2 to 1, is all kind of in one piece down here, and it does look to be welded into the headers. If you did a slip-on and then wanted to add like a cat delete, like some bikes will have, I don't think that's going to be an option on here. The actual muffler is got a clamp and another bolt right here. Doing a slip-on on this bike 4 beers deep, and it should still only be a 5-minute job. It's going to be super simple. For riders out there that are going to want to, put a seat cowl on and delete the passenger pegs. This is your rear exhaust hanger, so you'd have to see if anybody aftermarket would make their own hanger to come down here. These look pretty beef too, these passenger pegs, almost overbuilt. And while we're back here, let me point this out. You've got a chain guide over here, you've got a hugger, and then it comes all the way into this little cover here on the other side, which is kind of cool because it covers up your ABS and brake line cables. It kind of gives them a channel to run down, so they're not just running across the top openly across the top of the swing arm. It's very clean looking, but with a very sharp zip tie right there. I found a few of these on this bike. CFMOTO, maybe you can get your assembly guys some of those little guns that clip the tips off there. I'm going to cut that right now. This is one of my big pet peeves on a motorcycle. Don't want anyone getting going to the hospital from some dumb zip tie. But anyway, I was going to say this cover here going down, if you looked at this swing arm from afar, it's kind of hard to see with the exhaust here, but the swing arm would look like it's got a kind of big chunky shape and then slopes back down behind here, kind of going like that. Beefy swing arm that you would see on a lot of performance bikes, but this is the actual only part of it as a swing arm, is this piece right here. and it's about that thick going all the way down. Does it need to be any bigger than that? No, but they've kind of used this cover here to make the swing arm look more substantial than it is. But since this is all one big piece, anyone who's like, I know some people like to take the chain guide off, they like that look, you got a bunch of stuff here you're going to be exposing. Plus, once you get rid of this flap right here, your shock, which is right back here, you're just opening it for dust and debris and crap to always fly into. So I would prefer not to do that. Now, it does have preload adjustment on the shock, and this is a linkage suspension. That's kind of cool. I didn't think it would have that. Actually, surprisingly, rides pretty good so far, at least. I haven't had a ton of miles on it yet. Another small thing I've noticed here, this is the hard line coming off for the brake, which would go back. There's got to be an ABS pump somewhere underneath here. You notice here, this does have kind of an angle that I think would be nice if it was brought in a little bit. This is about the most extreme for this little angle right here you want it to have. So if you bring this over any further, it's going to put a lot of tension right here and possibly over time cause a leak in the brake line right there. I think this just needs to be redesigned a little bit right here. Not a big deal. I'm kind of nitpicking. Another thing slightly goofy that I noticed is, well, these big bolts right here. On most bikes, panhead style Allen bolts on these, or a cap would be perfectly fine. I think this is actually the swing arm pivot bolt right here. So the swing arm axle actually runs back through there. I mean, if nothing else, I should have just put some little caps over these. Hey, while we are down here, look at that though. That's actually a really nice looking factory brake lever right there. Got some nice squishy rubber pegs, some little feelers on there. This looks to be a similar enough design that I'm sure plenty of aftermarket pegs are going to go right on here. We don't have a normal radiator cap. We've got one of these screw-on guys. It still has, the overflow here on top if the pressure gets too high. But yeah, it's I'm not sure how crazy I am with these versus having a normal radiator cap. I mean, they're fine. I know plenty of things run it. I was kind of looking at this though. There's no, because you got this piece up here. It's not really a great, it's hard to even look into it and see what the coolant level is. Not that you need to look at that day to day, but you're gonna have to get some kind of final arrangement to ever top that thing off, which you kind of have to do anyway whenever you top these things off, unless you're just, I ain't that good to come up with a bottle anyway. I don't want to get too into the bodywork stuff yet, but I mean, I will say stuff like this. Is there anything in here? Is this doing anything? No, this is just for looks, and I'm okay with that. It's just, these things are kind of, at least it's like rigid and well built. It doesn't seem like chintzy. This thing, again, what does this do? This kind of covers the radiator up and makes it look more fancy and houses the turn signal, but what is this? It's got that sort of fake carbon pattern on here. Industry as a whole, like my MT-07's got a bunch of this on it too. It's like you're trying to fool people, it's carbon. Nobody's fooled by that. So it's just, everyone as a whole quit doing that. Hey, look, LED turn signals. It's kind of cool. I mean, they're bigger than I'd like. I'd still probably change them if they were mine, but you can certainly just rock them as they are and they're perfectly fine. The front brake. All these smaller beginner-ish style bikes here in the US, they always seem to just put a single rotor on them. And it always drives me nuts. Like, why? And this is like a J-Juan whatever brake. Except J-Juan whatever is owned by Brembo. And this is a radial mounted 4-piston on a pretty good sized floating rotor. This is a great little brake on this thing. I've been very impressed by it so far. You have like a hard line down here and it goes up, and this is actually a steel line from what I can tell. This is a steel line going into, it's gonna go back to an ABS pump line. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard line too. They're either hard lines or steel braided lines. And that may again contribute to why the brakes on this feel really good. You got factory steel braided lines on this thing. I'd be advertising that if I was them. I haven't heard anyone mention that. This is why I like to look at these things up close. So that's something you don't have to worry about. The brakes are something, if you own one of these things, the only thing I could say you may end up doing at some point, maybe you put a little bit set of hotter pads on this. Not that I think they're even terrible. It's just that, that would be like a slight upgrade. Otherwise, really good brakes. But they have done the thing, no nut sort of axle system. The lower part of the fork here is just threaded, and this is your axle going through. Why I don't like those? In case something stupid ever happens. I mean, this is a heavy steel axle going into a piece of aluminum. But I mean, my CRF is built that way. And a number of other bikes are built that way. They're perfectly fine. A reflector, which looks to just be, I think this is just stuck on this fork here, which I would actually probably just leave on if this was my own bike. It doesn't look bad. I normally end up taking these off because they're on some dumb little bracket and they look horrible. This actually looks fine to me. I don't have a problem with it. The front fork, however, is it's an inverted fork, right? And that's what everybody wants to see. They like the look of that. But this is a non-adjustable fork. It does feel fine to me riding around, but it's funny because everybody just wants to see this inverted fork. They probably, for less money, could have put an old school conventional style fork that actually had like preload and compression rebound adjustment on there. But no, everybody wants this inverted fork. So, well, you want it, you got it. Enjoy your non-adjustability. If this bike is popular enough though, there'll be enough aftermarket support and there'll be cartridges and things you can pop in here. I'm sure surest that'll happen if the bike is popular enough. And that actually is one of the big things with a bike like this. You know, as we're kind of looking over, talking about like, well, potential upgrades down the road. Is this bike going to be popular enough for the aftermarket to put any attention to it? I have noticed like on RevZilla, you can actually see like a CFMOTO is like one of the pull downs. You can click it, but I also have not noticed really a lot of parts available for it. They just kind of have them in there, but I didn't see a lot of like individual parts you could get for this. Another slight thing I'm noticing right here is on this front piece of plastic, it's this like non-painted sort of satin look. A lot of bikes do this now. And it's a cool look, but I mean, there's some kind of something on here. I don't know. This is the problem with this. It shows marks really well. It scratches really easy. My MT-07's got like a bunch of this plastic up by the tank and stuff. And there's all kinds of little scuffs and scratches over time. Make this look good by just blasting this with some SC1 or other plastic polish and just giving it a wipe down, and it'll look good while it's kind of greasy. This kind of finish just doesn't hold up very well. Everybody's doing it though. Like, and it's the look right now. This sort of satin flat black look. Looks good. Get close though, you're going to see little things and you're going to see little nicks and marks. Nothing I would lose sleep over, but something you should know. Hey, look at this front fender. What's with this shape right here? While we're up front, let's actually talk about this headlight bodywork. Where's your eye beam there? This is a really nice looking unit. It's probably too bright for the camera. It's this looks well made. It feels well made. Lights up good. I've been in the dark with it. I don't see where we're going to need to do a lot of upgrade to this. I'm pretty sure that's LEDs in there. I don't see even a way to access them, which means there's probably power that runs into this unit, and there's a board in here. Pretty chunky bump stop in there. That's nice. Cable management, by the way, is done pretty well on here. This is literally better than it is on my MT-07. The body work looks pretty good here. Fairly aggressive style. I think it's because this is the naked version of the SS bike. So like this whole like area is the same. There's a little more material like kind of sticking out here that I'd like to see. I'd like to see the seat maybe come a little more into this groove. And the reason I say is, well, it's just a potential area that's going to get worn quickly now. Legs sitting against the side here. Plus that plastic, remember I was saying before about that textured plastic? Well, this is all that through here. So there is a potential that this gets, this whole area over time could get sort of scuffed up. Maybe somebody aftermarket will come out with some sort of, sort of clear sticker kit that go over this and almost like a graphics kit, kind of give you some protection over that. It might even put some grip in here. You know, it's just a big grip pad through here. Ah, yes, the Taillight. That is a cool looking Taillight. Kind of looks like the sword from Halo or a lady part. Somebody told me that. Ooh, yeah. Do some sort of fender eliminator. This is a pretty big piece here. It's going to be hard to try to build your own. Some bikes you can look at and you go, oh, there's a really easy way to like remove this and just rebolt the plate up here. I'm not really seeing that with this system. I mean, it's like a straight out stick and then it drops down. Got some holes back here. A couple of these guys. Very MotoGP kind of inspired look back there. Very aggressive tail in general. The tire is a 150 on the rear, by the way, and a 110 up front. Probably a great little size setup for this size bike. What does this thing say? It's an Androin HS AS or AS5. I don't know what that is. And before I tell you any more about the side, let me tell you one quick thing here. We have a steel kickstand, which I like. I prefer to have a steel kickstand. Because of a steel kickstand, I can spin this bike around on the kickstand and not feel any way worried about it that's going to do anything. Yes, you are putting the entire weight of the bike on a single bolt, but there's always a very chunky bolt. I like this. It's got a good style adjuster on here. I don't see any points on the rear swing arm to add any spools. That would be nice. There's not a ton of other stuff to note on this side of the bike that we haven't ever seen. You got a coolant overflow tank right here. Got kind of a funky looking shifter with this little bend in it, but it actually, again, it looks nice. It doesn't look bad. There's a little linkage on here. Maybe there'll be an option for a quick shifter at some point. I don't know if there would be an auto blipper ever on this bike. It does not have fly-by-wire. This is an actual cable-driven set of throttle bodies, which also would kind of explain, you know, a few times I picked the wheel up a little bit and got the traction control to kick in, or a few times I kind of pin the throttle over a pile of leaves. I did that at one point. The traction control is it's fairly abrupt when it comes on. So it's most likely cutting ignition or fueling. And that's going to feel really, really abrupt versus if it actually had a fly-by-wire system, it could just pitch those blades back a little bit. You have the same thing I was saying though with these big bolts here. I wish this was a cap. Again, this looks just like a normal Japanese motor. See the timing covers on here. This is going to be your flywheel, stator. Right here is the starter motor with a starter clutch. Thermostat's probably right here on the side of the engine. There's some fuel in the tank, you hear it? And here with these mirrors, I did want to point out, these are pretty nice little units on here. They look well made, and the adjustment kind of all happens right in here. One thing I have noticed, I have both of them basically maxed as far down as they'll go. I'm like around 6 foot, and that seems fine, but if you're a shorter person, you may end up finding, you know, when you come more down into it, you can't tip these the direction that you may want. You see that being a potential issue for somebody, which is a shame because they're great little mirrors. Brake lever feels really good though. The clutch lever is a little funky. If we pull this back, you see there's a little spin adjuster on here, which brings the lever in or out a little bit. It's a cable-driven unit, simple adjuster here. This isn't too different, but what I've noticed is this just has a lot of sort of slop to it already. Some of that in the actual main pivot point right here. You might be able to go in there and tighten this up a tiny bit and get some of that out of it. But what also I'm noticing is a good bit of that play also comes this point right here. And you see there's another pin right here on this clutch lever. And I'm guessing that has to do with this, this adjustable unit here. So the whole thing has got kind of a lot more play that I'd like to see, especially for a bike that's got under 100 miles on it right now. So what does this look like down the road? Probably something I'd want to replace if this was my own with a better unit. But you're going to then lose your mirror mounting point. Now, if this is a normal mirror thread, you can definitely get some sort of clamp-on universal sort of system. Those do exist to let you put a different mirror on here, and it's going to move it in slightly. It's not symmetrical anymore, and that might drive you a little nuts. And the other thing here, of course, anytime you're on these modern bikes, if you go with an aftermarket lever, like I like the RSC levers, for instance, well, this has got a clutch switch on here. You can't just necessarily just pin these together on a lot of these newer bikes. The engine would then assume it's under no load. Leave these unconnected, well, then you have to go to neutral every time to start the bike, or you do what I did like on my MT-07, where basically we have to add another switch somewhere. On that bike, I actually use the pass light, but because this is the high-low beam switch as well, that's not going to work. Not saying there's no solution, it just means it's slightly annoying. But hey, at least you have a hinging gas cap here, something that a lot of bikes at this price range don't have. You're going to be pretty limited with trying to put a tail bag with this small of a tail seat back here. The normal setup, putting the key down here, and we can pop this off. Well, so you see you can totally fit, let me find something. No, you can't. You could definitely drop some things in here and lose them. That's the funny thing. Like there's some weird gaps in here, but no, there is like no storage in here. Also, this is the strap, by the way. This was just sitting sort of out when I picked the bike up. This is because bikes are required, if they have a passenger seat, to have some sort of handle. I imagine most people, like if this was my bike, I would just unbolt this and fully remove it, but since it's not my bike, it stuffs in really well right there. It's not a big deal. I'm not sure too if I'm missing some tools because there's some little holders for something on this back seat. It's not like they could do much more either because the tail light is like right pushed up against this, and this is, I believe, the main plug-in for that. This is some kind of diagnostic port, I believe. I'm not really sure. To get the rear seat off, it's one of those operations you have to kind of pull the little ear back and remove 2 bolts. Kind of pull up on it, and there you go. And oh my God, that's a big battery. That's such a, for a 450, that's huge. And also, there's like room in here, like there's a lot of space. You got some relays right here. This is your fuse box. There's your starter relay right there, ECU. Very clean and tidy under here. And the air filter is right back in here. And so it looks like to get this off, like you can kind of access the first 2 screws, but even with that, I wonder if that plate could even go anywhere. A lot of things here to like, a few things I dislike, but ultimately seems like a solid little platform right here. I think a lot of people in the US will be buying this as sort of a beginner-friendly bike. Just even an experienced rider, it's just a nice little commuter bike, little fun bike to go play around on. But I imagine most people will want to upgrade this eventually, and most experienced riders will probably look to something with a little more power to it, a little more get up and go. It's fun for you guys because the next bike, I think I'm actually going to go swap bikes with Spite, who's got the 800NK right now. It'd be hard to get sick of that one, I bet. But anyway, we'll get this thing back out here on the road here. In fact, actually, I'm going to take this thing to the dyno and see how much horsepower it actually makes. And I'm going to weigh it because I've got the ability to do that. We're going to find the real specs. It may not be one of those big publications, but I have a scale and I know a dyno shop down the road, and they're pretty cool. So is this a kind of video y'all are at all interested in seeing? Let me know. I mean, for real, I've never done anything like this. I just thought it'd be interesting to give you my mindset, my thoughts of what I look at when I look at these bikes and what I'm thinking about potential issues, modifications. And if you do want to see these videos ahead of everybody else, my Patreon's like 3 to 4 videos ahead. There's also a linked Discord in there, which I think somebody in the Discord is one who actually gave me the idea to do this in the first place. Really fun community in there, so for sure, if you're a part of that, link it together. It's just $1 a month though to join that Patreon, and you'll be supporting this channel. Anyway, regardless, the CFMOTO 450NK looks pretty cool. See y'all next video.